Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
A black sky rages on a 17th night. Lost in the darkness, shadows the night. Trouble. Yeah, trouble. Trouble comes creeping like a dead night stalker. Trouble comes seeping around my door. Trouble. Yeah, trouble.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me.
Steve Asher.
Hey,
Good evening.
Steve, man, what's new with you?
Man, you know, slamming through, trying to get through the hump day.
Doing your thing with the hump day?
Hump day.
I remember those commercials, the camel. You obviously do because he did bring it up. You know,
I did.
I miss those commercials. Hey, guess what day it is today? What's that? Hump day? Yeah, but tonight we got a great guest. We have medium Armand Egidi is on the show tonight, and we are going to talk about all things, well, psychic related. And he is a world-renowned psychic, and he recently opened up the Knowing Center. So it'll be interesting. He's teaching others how to become psychics. So, you know, maybe he'll teach us.
I'm with it.
Yeah, well, what would you do if you're a psychic, man? You know?
Okay, I would like to say I would fix everything in the world and make it a better place. But I'm thinking 6 months down into it, I would probably be like trying to be a billionaire with the lottery or something. Just because I'm a human and I'm fallible.
I would definitely be. What I would do is I would probably, because I've yet to see a headline that says psychic wins the lottery. Have you ever noticed that?
I've always heard it's because you cannot use certain gifts for your personal gain. No.
Is that what it is?
Kind of like that great power takes, equals great responsibility, or however the line is.
Yeah. It's that whole. Yeah, you can't use that. Are you there, Mr. Steve? Well, if I ever could win the lottery, I would definitely try to use it for good. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely try to be good with the money. How about you, Steve?
Well, sure. Oh, well, yeah, of course. I mean, there's so many different causes out there and stuff like that. I mean, honestly, if I was a psychic, if you're a conspiracy guy, which I am, and I would be, come on now.
I am.
I'd not be. I come by my tinfoil honest. But I would probably find all the different cures for the cancers and the epilepsies and all the horrible little things that kill kids and grannies and cats and.
Wow, you would want to help the world.
Yeah, and I may end up regretting it, but I mean, I'm sure I would probably end up a lump in the desert somewhere.
And sell a few books while you're at it.
I'm not scared of that either.
Hey, man, did you hear? And I know I sound totally enthused right now because I'm actually looking at my board wondering, what's going on over here? Because I hear a glitch every now and again. But did you hear about obviously you've heard about the evil clowns, right? Creeping around.
I hate that clown.
You know, that's the thing. They're everywhere. These creepy clowns. All right, now, you know, and that's a good way where I'm from. That's a good way to get shot. You know?
Oh, yeah. Let me go. Let me paint myself up with as much red and garish makeup as I can. Wander around the woods, which is equally creepy, and roll up and honk. Hey, kids!
But there is a article out there that says the real victims of the creepy clown epidemic may be the clowns themselves. Get this, man. They're saying if you believe the news these days that there are evil clowns around just about every corner in every town across the country, waiting to lure children to the woods to do unspeakable evil. But as the creepy clown epidemic continues to garner national attention with sightings reported and in around every major city as well as some rural areas, real clowns and folks who don makeup and entertain children are getting punished back because they're starting to lose jobs because of the evil clowns. Children are getting really afraid of clowns, which I've never been a big fan of clowns anyway, my friend.
My favorite clown, rodeo clown. Okay, listen. First of all, they're being chased. That's great. They're getting picked up, slung around. Now, these guys are professionals. They know how to handle it. I mean, obviously, they get injured. But they know their craft, and they're far away from me. And think about it. Hey, you can't do the Joey's 10th birthday or so-and-so's bar mitzvah. That's okay, buddy. There's a rodeo just downtown.
Well, exactly. And Sarah Moore is the director of the Clown School in San Francisco, based it's a San Francisco-based circus center that trains clowns, and they've had a 30% drop in enrollment.
Shocker.
In the last year, mainly due to these evil clowns running around. And she denies ever training an evil clown.
Well, no, who comes in there and is like, what do you like to do? I like to make balloon animals, and I like to throw confetti. What do you like to do?
Yeah.
Dominate the world and scare children.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So what are you interested in? Murder.
Murder.
What?
The second thing, more
Just
murder.
What's your favorite thing to do on the weekends? Murder. What do you hate about murder? Burying bodies.
What's your turn off? Sad people.
Exactly. I kill them. I kill them unless they sing and dance for me.
No, man. I mean, I don't know, man. It's madness. And the thing is, everybody goes, well, it's the media. Here's the Joker. Here's that. No, you know what? The Joker's the Joker. And the thing is, if you're walking around, I would have a great big sign on the way to a child's party. My name is blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to hurt you. If you're sitting on the bus in makeup and you're holding a knife, a shovel, and anything that says, I would literally have a jacket, like a flak jacket, that says, honest working clown, please don't shoot me.
Well, here's the deal, is she goes on, this Maury lady, this Sarah Moore goes on in this article, that she says, fear of clowns or coulrophobia, Coulrophobia, mouthful, has a long history, said Moore, who has worked as a professional clown much of her adult life, but she lays much of the blame for today's anti-clown climate on Stephen King's It, the 1986 blockbuster horror movie, the novel turned movie featuring the child-killing clown that lives in the sewer.
No way.
So she's going to really go back to 1986 and go, yeah, that's when everyone started hating us.
Man, look at the Man Who Laughed. Look at all those old, early silent films. You remember the movie Freaks? Got all the creepy different little guys in it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you can go back forever about, the kind of fear of the clown and all that. But I think it's probably more of something internal. But I don't care if you're dressed up as, Clifford the Big Red Dog, and you're coming down the street or behind a hedge of trees with a knife or a hatchet. You're getting smoked. I'm sorry.
Well,
it's not open for discussion.
And I actually posted on Facebook a joke. It was basically, it looks like a deer tag, saying it was a clown tag with you could hunt them, and there was no bag limit. And people were like, "Is that for real?" Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Really? You honestly believe that the DNR is going to give me a tag to kill these clowns? I mean, is that where your mind is?
The only thing that would have been cooler, it would maybe give it a little bit more legitimacy. He says, clown shoes must be 12 inches or longer.
Yeah, is there a shoe limit? Do we have to measure the shoe? Do we have to submit it with Boone and Crockett? What's a trophy and what's not here? You know, does the nose play anything to do with it? But anyhow, if you are worried about running into clowns, here are the cities that clowns and states that clowns are the most concentrated as far as the evil or creepy variety. Alabama has a fair bit of sightings. Let's see, they've had 10 sightings in the last 6 months. Arizona has been also a hotbed of clown activity. Arkansas, of course, is no slouch. It's got, and get this, Arkansas actually says that they have a zero tolerance to anyone dressing up as a clown to scare other people.
Oh, okay.
Well, are you kidding me? And now we have a zero tolerance. Yes, we have. You know, there's bigger things in this world to worry about, I would think, than worrying about people dressed up as clowns and scaring each other. But I like Arkansas. We're taking a proactive approach to the clown epidemic.
All right. Here, gather all the ISIS guys. Get all the Guantanamo guys that you haven't cleared. Say, okay, here you go. You're free to go.
Yeah.
Before you go, here's some shoes.
Yeah.
Here's
And
some
then
suspenders. Your name is Giggles. Your name is Flower Belly. Have fun. You can get through Arizona. You can get to the coast. God bless you. You're free.
Colorado, clown threat. That's right. If you go to Colorado for some Rocky Mountain High, you just may encounter a creepy clown.
My God.
It just keeps going. Connecticut has creepy clowns.
That's sort of like the blue blood clowns.
Yeah, they are. They're the real prim and proper that have tea. Let's stop for tea now.
The English clown.
Let's see, on Monday night, October 3rd, hundreds of students armed themselves with hockey sticks, now this is in Connecticut, and golf clubs as they went out to hunt for the clowns. Wow.
Clown.
Man, I would still have my compound bow and I'd be up at a tree stand. And I would use like one of those whistles that the horns they like to use to call them in.
Oh, no.
I'd be up there with my Hoyt bow just waiting with my Dominator heads, my broadheads. Come on, clown. Come on. No, are you kidding me? They're going to arm themselves going after the clown. Florida has tons of clown reports, but I think they already had those even before this epidemic started. So I don't think that's anything new for them. Georgia, of course, has a real bad problem. According to the state police, Georgia says it's become a major epidemic, these clown sightings.
Well,
and
let me ask you, just because I'm sitting here, I'm spinning my friggin' wheels. Because like I said, I've not seen any clowns here.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of reports. And I know there's a little town called Elkton, and they apparently got one of these kids. It's this little...
Oh, you got one near you. You have a creepy clown near you.
We had creepy clowns within about 4 blocks of my house.
Oh.
I never saw them. These guys were sitting with bats and stuff, and they would try to step out in front of a car, just so you'd have to swerve and miss them. I wouldn't be swerving and missing them.
No, I have a plow on my truck. What I would do is, I'll tell you what, man, I'll be lowering the plow and going to town.
Oh, that's it.
Here, take that. The last thing you're going to see is boss.
Yes. Well, let me ask you this. Some of these states that you're mentioning, is any of this tied in with like and I'm not saying it's ICP, but people like into the whole juggalo thing?
Nobody knows. That's the funny part. Nobody really knows. Idaho reports clown sightings. Idaho residents have reported so many creepy clowns. In fact, so many are reported clowns that the Napa Police Department posts on Facebook about it. The large number of Napa residents who are out looking for clowns to making this more difficult to deal with.
I wonder if it's a diversionary thing. I wonder if it's like, okay, we're over here.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, we're working on our whatever.
Well, I haven't seen any.
Shed,
I'm scrolling. I don't see any in Kentucky. that they
Yeah,
mention.
these are very recently.
Yeah, I don't see any in Minnesota. I see some in Michigan, but see, we're a very pro-gun state, and it might not be, such a smart move.
All right, listen to this. Hey, kids, time to cool the clown hysteria. Most of them are good. Cheer up the kiddies. Make people laugh. Mr. Stephen King.
Oh my gosh.
That's his quote.
Well, that's just, I mean, maybe he's the grandfather of these creepy clowns. Maybe he is the reason why they're coming out. Maybe it is the remake of It.
Maybe it's his, okay, there was a movie, what I'm trying to think of. There was a kid, and they were in a coma, okay?
Yeah.
And so, psychically, their, fears come out in whatever. Has anyone checked on Stephen King recently? That's what I'm saying.
Well,
maybe all that evil is pouring out of his psychic slot in the back of his head some which way that's not anywhere near medically correct.
Well,
but
I did find one incident where someone was killed by a clown. Pennsylvania clown stabbing.
Well, Gacy.
Yeah, well, exactly. This is Pennsylvania. PennLive, which I'm not familiar, must be a website, reported that high school student was stabbed and killed after getting in a fight with someone wearing a creepy clown outfit. But that's not the only report. York College students reported seeing students on and off campus dressed as clowns in late September, including a car full of clowns.
How big was the car? Was it
That's what I would want to know. Was it like a 73 Yugo or something? I mean,
man, couldn't they spot this car coming? Because one wheel would be big, the other side would be smaller.
you would
Like
think
that.
so. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know whether to run or laugh. Oh, there's Texas clown sightings. Now that shocks me. Because,
that's brave.
That is because they
don't
pride
play.
themselves in taking them out at a distance. Those clowns. I just don't know what to think about this clown controversy. I mean, I get it. I mean, poor Ronald McDonald must be turning in his grave.
Well, all right, let me ask this. Depending on what happens, depending on this maybe really mellows out, say you have kids that are right at hot trick-or-treating age, what do? You're going down, you're taking your kids trick-or-treating, there's going to be clowns. How are you going to know?
True. That's why I plan to carry pepper spray and a ball bat. Huh?
I'm just going to throw those long balloons at them and maybe confuse them with they'll make an animal and I can run down the street.
That's even better idea because you'll be entertained while you're running.
That's it. And then they drop it and then some kids go, hey, look, what's
Hey, look at that. He's turning that into a sword. Yeah. Hey, kids. I just don't. What do you think, Steve? I mean, do you think that this is just hysteria, or do you think that it's a PR ploy? What do you think?
Okay, my gut, which I trust a lot, says maybe initially it started out as sort of a PR thing, maybe kind of a creepy crawl type situation to play with people, but now it's gotten to the point that it's always cool. The party's always cool until certain group of guys shows up, right? Everything's mellow, and then people start throwing stuff, breaking stuff. It gets too rowdy. This is why we can't have nice things type situation. And I think some of these people, like I see them, would stand on the kind of a corner with a balloon and kind of just wave and look off their head and kind of look, whatever, that's fine. When you're escalating to the point of getting physical with people and you're trying to break into people, I mean, we had, if I'm not mistaken, someone had tried to get in someone's home. Try to do a home invasion dressed as a clown here. Yeah.
In fact, I'm reading that story right now. In Kentucky, police arrested a man who was lurking around dressed as a clown. He was dressed in clown costume, hiding in trees by an apartment complex, police said. According to Kentucky.com, the man arrested was 20-year-old Bell County. In Bell County, I don't know where that is to you, where you are. That's
a little ways out east.
Okay, he was walking in a wooded area near, again, the apartment complex around 2 in the morning. Right. And then another one in Gatlin County, Kentucky. Extra security was assigned to schools after 2 people posted threatening messages on Facebook, including creepy clown profile pictures. Meanwhile, one resident of Plano posted a weird photo on Facebook of a clown that she said was in her daughter's backyard. The photo has been wrongly attributed to Plano, Texas, but actually it's Plano, Kentucky.
Right. Have you seen the Drake County picture? It's there's this guy or a gal, I don't know, I can't tell.
Oh, sitting on the park bench or whatever.
Yeah.
That is crazy. You know, I'm just saying the DNR of all these states needs to come together and get some type of tag going. You know, we need to know a bag limit. We need to know the size. We need to know what sex that we can take.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, think about it like this. Do you remember when you were talking about like you were talking about like, dang, I'm blanking. Like where they said, okay, how to prepare for a zombie epidemic.
Yeah.
That they need to do it now and go, okay, how to prepare for a clown invasion.
What would you do? Okay, Mr. Asher, let's just say you confront a clown. What would you honestly do?
I mean, what depends on the situation. I mean, I'm okay. Look, I'm a little bit loud. I'm a little bit verbally.
You're a big guy too.
Okay, I'll take that. But you know, I grew up watching Three Stooges, knew all those like trip falls. Man, you might go, Stevie, what's going on? You turn around, and I'm going. I fall into that so easily. It's a little scary.
Eating a crusty burger, and you know,
I might. Yeah, man. Who knows? I might flip. But
yeah,
if it was just me and just a clown just walked up, I might go. Why so serious? And I keep walking. But
well, it's kind of like the zombie epidemic too. Remember how everyone was seeing zombies for a while?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, oh my, zombies here, zombies there. Right. You know, now it's just clowns. I have heard that Rob Zombie has a movie coming out called 31. Right. And evidently that some have said that it was beginnings of it was for a ploy, some type of PR ploy for the movie. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything or read anything to really confirm that. I just heard that from other sources. But that's true. It should be done now. Come on, guys. Creepy clowns, go away. You know, you're starting to freak people out.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Things runs its course. Do you remember, like, when everybody was planking? Did you ever have that up your way?
No. What is planking?
You don't know what planking is? Okay.
No, I don't. Why don't you go ahead and enlighten me?
All right. Do you remember, like, in the old days, and you'd have the magician, and they would have the lovely assistant. She'd be like on a chair, and they'd have a table under her.
Sure.
She'd go stiff as a board, right? And
yeah.
Okay, and before they move the chairs, her head and maybe her feet are on that, and she's maintaining like a stiff, like a boardish appearance.
Okay, gotcha.
And people were doing this, so there were pictures. There were people would be on top of a bookshelf, or somebody would be on a park bench, or they'd be on a truck. Just quirky, you know.
That is weird, man.
Yeah, but it's not clowns.
But it's not. Yes, clowns is a whole new level. You know. So, but if you want to check out where clowns have been sighted, go to theheavy.com. And they will fill you in on all the sightings of clowns in the area, and you can see whether your state has been overrun by the make-up ones. And if they have been, let me know. Let us know, and we'll try to tell us if you've seen them. Because first is black-eyed kids, now we're going to clowns.
Black-eyed clowns.
Oh, wouldn't that be creepy?
Werewolf clowns.
Oh, exactly. They're just getting exactly. We just want to use your car. You know, how many can we fit in? Come on, that whole thing. I mean, I don't know. What would a black-eyed clown say to you?
A black-eyed clown would say to you.
You know, one showed up. I mean, I'm kind of weird though, because the black-eyed kids just say,
"Can we use your
phone?
Can we use
your phone?"
Yeah,
we're only kids.
Your face cream?
Yeah, can we use your face cream?
Wow.
Yeah, it's just weird, man. It's gotten to the level now where real clowns are legitimately employed or losing their jobs because of these creepy clowns. You know, there should be some clown-on-clown violence. Can you imagine what that rumble would be?
I have this vision. I see a vision of like 2020, and it's like, former penitentiary now turning into violent clown sanitarium. It's like a build-up. It's literally turning into Batman.
Yeah.
So it's like you have all these guys, and they're on cell block 7, and they're the gigglers, okay? And then you have these ones over here. Watch out. They'll throw something. They'll throw confetti, but it ain't confetti in that bucket. Okay, well, don't mess with that guy.
I'd want to be the commentator to watch the Rumble. Oh no, here comes Bozo, and he has the fake wind-up teeth. Oh, Clarabelle, here it comes.
Oh, rubber chicken right to the face.
Right to the face. Did you see that one, Steve?
Man, Clown Gladiator School. That's a show. That's a show I'd watch.
Clown on clown action. Yeah.
Oh, that could take you to a whole lot of different places.
You know, that could. I just thought about that after I said it. Really, quite honestly, hasn't there been just enough clown on clown violence already, though? You know, or not enough? Maybe the good clowns need to police their community a little bit.
Maybe. Now we're getting political. You know, it's like, don't blame us. You need to be responsible for your own actions. You come into our non-clown communities and you start looting and you start throwing, you know, rubber chickens and you start honking at everybody. When's it going to stop?
Clown lives matter, man. Clown lives matter.
God.
But yeah, this has gotten way too, and I know we've been talking about way too long now for like the last half hour.
Well, it's ludicrous.
It just amazes me.
Show on it.
It just amazes me of how, you know, these clowns are everywhere now. Went from just a report here and there, okay, whatever. Now it's hitting the national stage. I mean, come on, the nightly news, ABC News picks it up on their national news.
Say something about it?
Yeah, they pick it up on their national news feed, and they're like, hey, here's the deal: is I don't know what to say about these clowns, but they really should just settle it down a little bit.
You should find another outlet.
Yeah, exactly.
For your anger. I'm trying to do an Obama. It's really bad. As opposed to threatening the livelihood of hardworking people.
You sound good.
Actually, that's somewhere like Jesse Jackson. Talk a little bit more like that. It'd be more like Jesse Jackson, but I'm trying.
Well, I hear that. You're really trying hard. Now, there should be a spokesman for the clowns. You know.
A mouthpiece.
There needs to be. Where's their Al Sharpton?
Well, do you know that it would be like, man, what would you even call the guy? Like, man, I don't know what you would call that. Like HC, what was it? Like head clown in charge. I don't know how that would work out.
I'm not sure how you would have that one, or how they would even elect a leader.
I guess.
You know.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. It wouldn't be like silent ballot. It would be like all people voting in, you know, Pickles over here for president.
Yeah. I'm not quite even sure how that would even go down. I really don't know. All I know is it's ridiculous. People need to stop it. Maybe it'll go away after Halloween.
Maybe.
There's a possibility. There's a possibility. You know.
It's going to lose its effect. Short of, because everybody was going, and I know we got other stuff to do, but it was going to the point where it's like, well, think of The Purge. And, you know, it's like, maybe they're trying to do like a clown, but think it's sort of like The Purge. And I'm like, I just can't blame media. I watched it. I watched all that stuff. I watched G.I. Joe. I never jumped. I was out of a helicopter, you know, with a katana, you know, strapped to my back, you know. Yeah. All and stuff. I don't think you can blame media on this. And if someone is that influenced by media, maybe they need to be, you know, psych checked or something.
Well, something has to give here. This is gay ridiculous.
Yeah, this isn't funny.
It's not funny anymore, guys. Come on, enough is enough. No more clown jokes. But man, it's really getting old really, really fast. But that being said, I mean, you know, we are here at Halloween, and have you decided yet, Steve, what you're going to go as for Halloween?
Probably a clown. I should.
You're just clowning around.
I'm just clowning. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. You know, it's coming up so fast, and you know, it's like, geez, you know, it's just getting ruined by the clowning around, man. You know,
you're going to see crossovers. You're going to see crossovers into other fandoms. You're going to see like Jedi clowns.
Clowns next, yes.
Like you'll see Stormtrooper masks with like the red nose on it.
Yeah.
You're going to see at Christmas time. Think about Rudolph.
Oh yeah, Rudolph the red-nosed clown. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, that glows. You know, just to scare children.
It's going to happen. Someone's going to pervert it some which way.
You know they are. We got to run a break though. We come back. When we come back, we're going to talk all things psychic medium with Armand Egidi. Yes, we come back. Sorry about that. I slaughtered that one. But when we come back, don't go anywhere. We're going to have a great time. Be a lot of fun. See you at the end of the break. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrent Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrent Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
She is seductive. She is passionate. She is possessive. She is pure evil. She is Christine, a 1958 Plymouth Fury, possessed by hell. Her previous owner is not alive to warn her present one. Once she lures you behind the wheel, you will be hers, body and soul. There is no place you can hide, no place you can run, and nothing you can do can stop her. Because how do you kill something that can't possibly be alive? Christine, body by Plymouth, soul by Satan.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
This is the latest disclosure in a report from National Civil Defense Headquarters in Washington. It has been established that persons who have recently died have been returning to life and committing acts of murder. A widespread investigation of reports from funeral homes, morgues, and hospitals has concluded that the unburied dead are coming back to life and seeking human victims.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Stevie Asher.
Hey, Steve, man, we got a great guest on tap, and we've had him on before, and he's always just a wonderful person. And I will not slaughter his last name, because I'll tell you what, I am a phonetical northern guy, so when I see it, I read it that way. But Armand Egidi, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes,
you did it.
Yes, I did it.
Score.
Yeah, score. No, but Armand is actually, he is a psychic medium, And we've had him on the show before, and a really good friend, really just honest individual that I love him. I mean, every time I've talked to him, he blows me away. But we really want to get back on the show for a couple different reasons. One, because we really enjoy talking with him. But number two, you've opened something really cool and unique, haven't you?
Yes, I opened up a center, as I'd like to call it. It's called the Knowing, and it has 3 dots afterwards, center in Flemington, New Jersey. And this is a place where people come to get read, either in groups or in, singles or couples, It also has a variety of different meditation groups that are provided there. There's almost something each night of the week, it seems. And I have different other people coming in doing meditation groups, and I hold one meditation group and a class on how to read, and how to improve your skill set as somebody that can pull in the energies.
Cool, man. I mean, I think we're all, it's like we talked before on air, and we were discussing, abilities and this and that. And you've shared with me before that, we all have this ability, whether we or not we choose to use it. And it's cool that you're opening up a center like that. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really is. And let me just say first, if people, because I have to tell you what's really, really cool about this center is that there is a room in it that's 10 feet in diameter, and that was a kiln at one time. And
Really?
So I had a piece of carpet cut in a 10-foot diameter circle, and it's all brick enclosed and domed, the ceiling of it, and we hold some meditation groups in there, and I do readings in there. If people wanted to look at, because I think the pictures are so cool, they can go on www.theknowing.online.
Cool.
So it's .online, and they can take a look, and I think it's a nice place.
Yeah, it looks really nice. I'm looking at the pictures now. Wow, really, really nice place. Really nice that you have that center going too. What's new with you these days? Other than that, I know you're an extremely busy guy, but anything new shaking? Other than the Knowing Center, what about you, man? How have you been?
I've been doing really well. It's a little bit taxing to start the center, so I've been a little bit on the tired side. But I'm like an Energizer bunny. I just keep going, and because there's a purpose, and the purpose is to raise the awareness of what I do, and having more and more people come to me for readings, and more and more Skype readings and FaceTime readings around the world have been happening. Mm-hmm. And I'm being flown down to Florida in December to read a pretty important person, and I was requested to go, and it's an honor, and I think it's neat. Do
you ever get nervous for anyone you read? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm reading for you, man. And do you ever get starstruck? Because I would.
No, to be honest with you, totally honest, no. When I read a person, it's kind of like we're just down to the bare bones of who they are, that they're just an energy in front of me, just as I am an energy in front of them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the glitz and glamour is stripped away, really, because I'm just talking to them and also the energies behind them. And sure. I read somebody fairly famous 2 weeks ago, and I have to tell you, I just wasn't nervous. Their fame, I don't want to say it doesn't matter to me, but it doesn't, for what I'm doing with them, it's not something that does anything for me in that moment. I'm really just there to help them.
Talking spirit to spirit and person to person. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, I totally get that, because they're much more than what they do.
Exactly.
Like I'm much more than a radio host. You know what I mean? And so, there's lots of different facets to all these people. And now this is the first time you had the opportunity to talk to Steve. And so, Steve, I know you got tons of questions for him. Why don't you fire a few, man?
Well, the first thing that comes into mind is I would assume that first I assumed, well, maybe a person in prominence and actor or whatever would be harder to read. But then I'm sitting there thinking, well, they're kind of used to being public figures, and I know they have to have sort of two lives. But I would also thought, being ex law enforcement and corrections, mm-hmm. That somebody who is in that type of security field would have more walls up, maybe not. I don't know. What's your take on that?
You are 100% right. Because, until you mentioned it, I really didn't think about this. And it's true, especially when I'm like in Beverly Hills area, in Malibu, there are some pretty prominent people I've read. And you're hitting the nail on the head, because there is such a layer on some of them that they have to put out, like this filtration to the public, that what happens is when I'm sitting there and it's like, no, you don't have to have that wall up. It's me. I'm here, and it's okay to be real with me and just drop that wall down, because that wall, it almost is like putting a hand up in front of my face that says you can't get through, because they're putting up this facade of them and not the real deal as to who they are as an energy, as a person, as a human being. So you're right.
Well, I would think that just like you said, in the nature of especially show business or anything like that, it would be hard to really let that, boy from Nebraska or that girl from wherever, some little cornfield town who's behind that glitzy persona to kind of go, okay, this is me, Bear. I mean, that's got to be a really intimate thing.
And again, and I'm really impressed, and I think what you're saying is so spot on. You're right, because what happens is, if you can kind of picture it, and this goes for each one of those people, and not even just them. I think even people in general sometimes that have that kind of that protection. Think of it starting out on a hill, and they, as I start to read them, they start to come down, and they lose that sense of inflation and protecting themselves. And it's probably about 15 to 20 minutes in. Now I've got the real so-and-so. Yeah. And this isn't just for the VIPs, or this is for a handful of people out there that I've read. Sure. And I know that I've gotten through when the tears start coming, because now I've got the real person.
Well, there's that stress of having to be on all the time, like a radio person.
Yeah.
Everyone has this. They want that guy that they hear on the radio, or they want that guy they see on the screen. They don't really seem to really care about the real person. That's what they do. But they never. A lot of them don't stop to think, well, wait a minute, there's a real caring, crying person behind there. Now, you would mention walls. You'd mentioned, that letting that inner person out. Do any of them ever have a hard time separating themselves from it? From that persona they built? Is there ever a confusion in their own mind how to separate themselves?
Well, I'll go one further. And you're bringing back so many different readings back into mind, where it not only that, but they're not even sure what their own persona really is. And I've seen that on like a small handful, not a lot, but a small handful of readings where it's just, I can see them struggling to let that guard down, but they're not even sure how to act, in front of somebody that they can be real with. And that's not everyone, but a handful of people.
Armand, can I ask you, it seems like, and this is just something I get, I've talked to him before. I don't consider myself a medium, but I definitely trust my gut, especially working in the sort of things I've worked in.
Sure.
It seems like when you're talking about this, people that can't let go of the gorilla suit, as it were, that they wear out doing their thing. I think of guys like John Belushi, guys like that they could never quite not be the party guy, not be that larger than life person. And is part of that got to do with, maybe, I'm not saying that they weren't necessarily spiritually advanced or mature, which it seems like you would have to develop that ease with people. But is that something that's just something that they have to practice to learn to allow themselves to be more or less human again around everybody? Or is that something that's where you come in and act sort of as a conduit to that?
Yeah, again, that's again very spot on. I'm loving this. I'll tell you that we're born in this world as being pretty much, for the most part, clean slates in a way, and I think as we grow into, or some people grow into fame or grow into whatever it is that they do for a living. It could be anybody that has to put on that gorilla suit, if you will, that shield. That what ends up happening, it's a level of conditioning. And they start to be conditioned in that way. It's like a brainwashing almost in a way. It becomes this persona that starts to get so ingrained that, a person that is sitting in front of me, when they're used to putting that on to the public and to people every day, sometimes, and again, this isn't for all of them at all, but sometimes they have trouble knowing who the real self is and who to trust.
Exactly. I get that. Again, for everyone that's just tuning in, we are talking to Armand. Now, I'm not going to kill it. Egidi tonight. I know I'm very phonetical tonight for some reason. I was just doing some reading for another thing, and everything was very phonetical in front of me. What it is. But no. Again, everybody, thank you for tuning in, number one. Number two, I got a question, Armand. Now, when people that are famous, when they cross over into the next world, do they maintain that fame? Like, is John Wayne, or do they just kind of shed all that and they're just another soul?
I think they, I think they shed their, in fact, I know that they shed their, that fame isn't so necessary. They have this track record of being famous on the earthly plane. They have this who they were, but really, when you come down to it, they're just an energy that has experiences throughout their lifetime, things that they had to grow, learn, develop, heal, cried about, got angry about, obstacles, just like all of us. And I think there's no necessarily preferential treatment, because I think in a lot of ways, if, say, you were saying John Wayne or anybody was not on a screen, we're all famous in our own life. We all have our own track record. And I think that's how it's looked upon. It's like, what do you take with you, your experiences and your growth?
That makes perfect sense. It really does.
Armand, if I can ask one quick question.
Go ahead, man.
Something I was wondering about, which there's always, you hear a lot of the positive type sides. Have you ever dealt either with, I kind of hate saying dead people, living people. It's all energy, it's all spirit. But so have you ever dealt with somebody either on this plane, if you want to call it that, or the next, that was so negative that you couldn't get through to them? Or is the whole good evil thing more of a misdirected energy? What's your take on that?
I think that each person, we all, and you're right, be it an energy on the other side or here, have I come across? Yes. And what I find is, evil, the darkness, the negative, the whatever synonym you want to use for it, really is a lack of love. It's a lack of patience, tolerance, acceptance, all of that. And there have been people that I've come across who want a reading for the novelty of it. Who can you, like, it actually, happens every now and then. I'm in public and people are like, okay, read me. What do you see? What do you, when they do that, it's like, this is not a game. This is something that's precious, for a lack of better words. It's something that is a very, I don't want to use the word sacred, but this is the opening between here and the other side, which is very important. It's very needed for that energy. But the people that tend to be do it for the thrill of it and not really for the connectedness of it, that's something that when I'm reading tends to be an issue at times, because then nothing's really fully coming through, because they're wanting it for the novelty and not a purpose.
Yeah, see, for me personally, I'm always curious how my dad's doing. You know, he passed, and the direction my family's going, whether it's a right direction or not. Those are the questions that I have more than read me. I just want to hear about this. But those are, you know, meaningful things. You know, am I in the right road? You know, those kinds of questions. I suppose you get probably more of those questions, I would hope, than the, hey, you're a trained monkey over there, read me. You know, I would sure hope so anyway.
I get that, yeah, quite a bit. And the way that I look at it is when a person comes to my office, what's happening is all the roads are coming into this hub of where that person is sitting.
Sure.
And I'm more of the traffic cop, if you will, kind of directing the traffic that needs to come to them, the messages, the information, all that connection that comes together. And what it tends to be on the other side of it is that their rudder gets re-steered and redirected as to where they're at in the moment, where they're going, what do they need to be careful of. And doesn't come from me. It really is like having a conversation with the other side. And this is something that people use in order to create a new world sometimes. And it might even sound over the top, but it's true. People have said, you've changed my life. And it's not like, well, I may have been the catalyst for that, but it's you coming here, getting directed here, that has helped for you to get the messages, for you to make those decisions, to make changes and different choices. That's what it's about. Nobody ever comes to me by accident. It is always like this spot on, you needed to be here.
Yeah, it's a predestined kind of thing. You know, where you are where you need to be at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the hippies used to say, wherever you are, there you are.
That's right.
There's a reason why you're there. You know, do you have a lot of folks that you do read? Are they ever resistant because, or shocked, or I mean, like shocked to the point where they want to be resistant because you're being so dead on, and it's just so uncomfortable with it?
Yeah. I'll tell you. In the beginning, yes. In the beginning of a reading, there's this. And depending on where I am in the country or even in the world, the thought on a reading and whether it's taboo or whether it due to religion or other variables that are in their world, it sometimes in the very beginning, that's when that resistance comes in.
Okay.
But after they get a reading for a little bit, like 15, 20 minutes in sometimes, that's when they let the parking brake down because they're starting to feel a lot more comfortable. Like, this is not an inquisition.
Yeah.
This is not, oh, you're going to die tomorrow coming out. But rather, this is the well-needed information that is so vital to your continuation and movement forward. Yeah.
Well, Armand, if I can ask you, taking it sort of on a different side of these questions.
Sure.
Now, let me ask you this. For example, a little bit over a year ago, our son Joseph had passed away. He was special needs. He passed away at a really bad seizure. Well, my question is this. If you were, like you talk about, everybody builds these walls and everyone has these things that they pick up. And what if you had somebody in that situation? Okay, is that a much easier transition? Is that one of these things where maybe they don't have to deal with some of the, I guess, grunt work that most of us, because we have so much baggage and we carry so much preconceived this and that, and personal, you know, that sort of personal thing about yourself, it's all about me, where it seems like a lot of times people that were special needs or very young people or whatever seem to have never really developed that. Is there any difference in the, I don't want to say the quality of the soul and the transition thereof, but have you ever dealt with something like that, and how have you found that different from somebody who has not had to deal with those challenges or has been through a longer life, dealt with a lot of stuff? How would you rate that?
There's so much to say about that because I have gotten so many, ranging from having issues like that, all the way to suicides, all the way, these ailments, these biological issues, and all the way to suicide that has shortened people's lives. And I'll tell you that when it comes to people like that have these challenges, if you will, my mother, I'll explain it this way. My mother said to me, in her Brooklyn accent, Armand, she said, you look at an individual who, and I don't want to be politically incorrect, but that might be emotionally challenged, let's say. She said, those are energies that have chosen to be born into the spirits of these people that are, or bodies of these people that are here on Earth. And that challenge helps to put them ahead so many lifetimes. I remember her telling me that when I was younger, and me looking at that, and because she says they're compromised, they're kind of trapped in there, and they've made that choice. So, having said that, when I look at somebody who passes away earlier from a physiological or psychological affliction, it tends to leave behind this positive, in some cases, residue for people to bring them closer together. Even if it's unfortunately a suicide, or foundations are formed, there's the sadness of losing a person so soon, but it tends to rally people's emotions and feelings together for those in the community or within the family. It seems
like a real ripple effect, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's. I often say that it's like throwing a stone into a lake, and you can have this positive ripple effect that keeps on going and going and going. Or, in our lives, we can throw a big boulder in that can hurt people, and that is waves that take people on.
Now, I got to ask you, now, before we come to this earth and we're going to live this life that we're currently living now, we know what we're getting into, don't we? I mean, the spirit world. We know that we're going to be in this body, that this is a learning experience that we have to go through.
So yes, picture it this way. You want to go between here and California, well, where I am on the East Coast to, say, California, and you're handed a map. Look, you're going to wind up in California. Here's a map. We want you to follow these roads. This is the way that you will go. These are the general directions. But because we have free will, we opt at times to take exits off of that highway. And sometimes it takes us a while off that exit, and we're kind of laboring over things and not moving ahead in this world. And other times we'll bypass a negative exit and go, I'm not going that way, I'm moving ahead. The whole idea behind taking these exits and going beyond that prime directive of getting to, say, LA, because that's where I'm going, is to learn, grow, develop, mature, heal. Because every time an exit is taken, that's right, wrong, and different, whatever it is, it helps us to grow. If it doesn't kill us, we're going to grow from it.
Gotcha.
And that's what happens. So that roadmap, I think, is there. Like, we kind of pick it, like what direction we want to go and what the challenges are. And it's up to us, because we all know the truth. We all know really what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And our goal is to go past that hurdle and really go to that next hurdle, that next one that we need to go to. And we all know that. We all have that in our minds.
And do we come back to this earth? Do we live many times on this earth?
I happen to believe that we do.
Okay.
From what I get. And from when I'm reading, there are people that don't believe that, and I respect that. Everyone has their own belief system, and I think that that's absolutely fine.
I think we do. I think that we do come back and live again. Personally, I do. I mean, why would we be one and done? Because, lessons will be repeated until they're learned. And I on my on the knowing that I have, and if people go to theknowing.online, they'll see this swirl. You'll see this swirl. It's like the yellow brick road going inward. And I have like an arrow. I designed the logo because we all are going in this corkscrew toward the center. We're all on this road of growth. Gotcha.
And And it goes, and the goal is to be in that center of higher learning and understanding. Well, sometimes, in my eyes anyway, and from what I've experienced through readings, we all hop back on that road and continue to go toward the center, almost like a needle being lifted off of a record and put back on again. You say.
That makes perfect sense. It really does. We got to run to break. Actually, we have to run to your top of the hour, Fox News. We come back, more Armand Egidi. Don't go anywhere. We got questions. He's got answers. You're going to love what you hear next.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. The eastern coast of Florida could start feeling the effects of Hurricane Matthew tomorrow afternoon.
It's never too early to evacuate. If you live in a low-lying area, a barrier island, or if you're in an area that you know are prone to flooding, don't wait to leave. Leave now.
Governor Rick Scott says there's good reason to get out of Matthew's way.
Wind strength is our biggest concern regardless if the storm directly hits us. The probability of high wind speeds continue to increase as this storm has developed. It's not going down. It's expected to go up. The probability for hurricane strength winds continues to increase.
Matthew is a Category 3 storm packing winds of 120 miles an hour. People started leaving coastal areas of South Carolina this afternoon. Matthew dealt Southwest Haiti a devastating blow. 200 U.S. troops and 9 military helicopters are being sent to help with hurricane relief. Gunfire in Los Angeles County leaves an officer in grave condition. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal with a live report.
And Kathleen, the LA County Sheriff's Office says one sergeant was shot. Another deputy may have been injured, but that wasn't immediately clear. The suspect was initially on the loose, and authorities told nearby schools to shelter in place. Eventually, deputies surrounded a house in a neighborhood, and they were in touch with a witness who believed he knew where the suspect was.
He is unable to call us this time. He is texting us. This is the male 17 witness inside the house. He's unable to call. He sent a random text.
Moments later, a man was seen with his arms up in the backyard of the house. He was taken into custody, and the sheriff's department tweeted that there were no additional suspects. The sheriff, Jim McDonald, told the LA Times that before the shooting, the deputies had been responding to a burglary call. Kathleen.
Thanks, Jessica. Stocks rally. The Dow gaining 112 points, S&P adding 9 points, NASDAQ up 26 points. You're listening to Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
This is the sound of a brand new outdoor grill being hurled off a 20-story building. Now a stylish glass coffee table. An electric guitar. These are the things you could enjoy, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Visit EnergySavers.gov and get tips on how to save energy and money. Then do things like switch to Energy Star light bulbs or Energy Star appliances, and you can save hundreds of dollars a year. So this doesn't happen to the recliner you've had your eye on. Or this to the treadmill on your wish list. Or this to the shiny new bike your kid's been asking for. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Fewer than 36 million people tuned in to last night's vice presidential debate. That's less than half the number of viewers for the first presidential debate last week. At least one of the candidates is getting ready for round 2.
Hillary Clinton is back here in Washington for fundraising and critical debate prep ahead of Sunday night's next showdown with Donald Trump. Clinton called her running mate Tim Kaine late morning to congratulate him after his debate with Governor Mike Pence. An aide says she praised him, especially for how he spoke about the economy, immigration, and criminal justice. And that campaign aide says they spoke about the next month of this campaign, and after doing separate events, that they'll likely do some campaign events together soon. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
A step forward in the fight against climate change.
The Paris Climate Agreement will take force next month, 30 days after enough countries joined the pact, which was signed earlier this year by nearly 200 countries.
Today, the world meets the moment. And if we follow through on the commitments that this Paris Agreement embodies, history may well judge it as a turning point for our planet.
President Obama noting big carbon emitters like the U.S. and China have made commitments to produce plans aimed at limiting the rise of global temperatures. Targets are not legally binding. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has said he would cancel the Paris deal. Democrat Hillary Clinton says she supports the agreement. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Speaking of climate change, a new study says the southwest region of the U.S. faces the threat of mega droughts as temperatures rise. Researchers say the only way to reduce the risk is by curbing heat-trapping gases. Otherwise, they predict future droughts in the southwest will be hotter and more severe than those already being experienced. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me.
Little Stevie Asher.
Little Stevie Asher. I haven't heard you say that one before. And we have Mr. Medium, Armand Egidi, tonight. And, you always blow the doors right off me, sir. You always do. And you did again during the break, of course. I love you for it. Thank you so much, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sitting here with my chin touching the ground. I'm like, what?
And, but you have the Knowing Center. So why don't we tell the folks again all about that awesome experience they can be a part of?
Well, let me tell you how the Knowing Center came about, and in a couple of sentences. The way that I found the space was by getting a haircut. I was in the town, I was in Flemington, and I was getting, Flemington, New Jersey, and I was getting a haircut. And the guy, I never cut my hair before, he never cut it. And he said, what do you do? And I was telling him, and I said, I'm looking for a space. And he said, why don't you go talk to George? And he pointed out which place to go to. And I did. And I spoke to the man that owns Stengel Pottery Factory. It's the old pottery factory. And I said, all right. And George was there. And he showed me this space that has a 10-foot in diameter kiln in it, all brick kiln. There's about 3 or 4 different kilns, actually, and they've converted the place into a restaurant and also a coffee house and an art gallery. And I said, this is a perfect spot. And I decided to call it the Knowing Center because that's how I get my information, is by knowing. And I want other people to know, too, what it is that they need to know and get. And so I've been at it now for the last month. The doors are open, and I'm accepting appointments, and it's the knowing.online. And if people look on the website, they can see I just finished putting up photos of some photos of the space, and people
Very
are starting
cool.
to. Yeah, they have groups they're coming to, meditation groups and singing bowl groups we have there. Crystal singing bowls. We do that on Tuesday nights, and just a great place to be.
Very, very awesome. I recommend everyone go check it out. You know what? It is really, I'm looking at the website right now and the little tour you have on the website, the different pictures. Cool looking joint. It really is. It's awesome looking. And I want to get there. I want to hang out there, man.
Yeah, it's really nice. And you know that one picture with the bolsters in a circle, that's the inside of the kiln.
Okay. Very cool looking. Very, very cool looking. It's almost like the space found you.
Yeah, in a way. I'll tell you, having said that, after I signed the lease to the place, some of your listeners may not know, but my sign is a yellow Volkswagen. When I see it, that's my spirit guides telling me I'm on the right path. So what did I see out front of the building after I signed the lease? A yellow Volkswagen Bug sitting right in, and I took a picture of it too, sitting right in front of the doorway of where I signed the lease. I was like, yeah,
that's your sign, man, right there.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I want to tell you that it's not true and it's not real and it's not. And I recently read one of the vice presidents of NBC, one of them, not the vice president, but one of them. And when I got the phone call that they wanted me to come out to L.A., I had my earpiece on, and I was driving in the car, and just as they said, and we would like you to went right by me was a yellow Volkswagen Bug. I swear to God himself, and I'm just like, nobody's going to believe this.
Yeah. Who's going to believe this? What the heck? Yeah. But, we all have those kinds of signs in our life, much like your yellow Volkswagen.
Well,
do we have those?
We do.
Okay.
We do, but some people have it. And see, here's the whole key to that. It's about making a choice and a decision as to what your sign is. So if, say, somebody's mother passes away, and you're like, okay, I want the sign to be a butterfly because she always loved butterflies and a particular type of butterfly, that person then begins to see that. And
gotcha.
And it happens at times where you wouldn't see, a butterfly. I don't know. Even dimes or pennies. Now, some people say, well, I ask to find them in weird places, and they find them in places that there shouldn't be a penny or a dime or what have you. Mm-hmm. So it's about contracting with that energy on the other side as to what you want that sign to be. So it opens up that communication where they can give you that, and then they have your attention.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's like it's a way to communicate amongst each other. Okay, now when I see my yellow Volkswagen, I'm going to know that's you telling me this. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Right. And some people have now started to see yellow Volkswagens, clients of mine who I've read, because I've mentioned it to them. And so here and there, I get yellow Volkswagens posted to my wall. Look what I saw today. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a fan page of just yellow Volkswagens, I think.
Or now you should go, Armand Egidi. Now sponsored by VW, the best yellow bug around.
I bet you one day Volkswagen is going to give me a yellow Volkswagen Bug.
just right there. Be done with it. That's right. That we can see it anytime you need to. But, as we pass and go to the other side, and okay, what makes a ghost a ghost? It is... we were talking, we're here in Halloween time, of course. The ghosts are all the thing, but they're always our thing here on this show. But is it because it's fear of judgment? And what keeps us here, I guess, is a long question short.
Well, I think the energies that are here, energies that transfer and go to the divine spirit, to the other side, if you will, to heaven, whatever you want to call it. They've transitioned over. They have the ability to come back. I just want to separate ghost versus, energy or spirit.
Sure.
They have the ability to come back and visit us, support us, be around us, and otherwise influence and guide us. The ghosts, if you will, or the energies that remain here, you alluded to that a few seconds ago. Sometimes the energies are stuck here because they are afraid of judgment and are afraid of going to the other side. I found that a lot. I'm in a very Revolutionary War type area where there's a lot of battlefields and things like that, and people have come in or had me, clear their house out, and I find that quite a bit. From some of the soldiers that are left behind in some of these older homes out on the East Coast here.
Okay.
And they tend to be afraid of moving forward to the other side for judgment. I killed, or I did this, or I did that.
Yeah.
And I find that happens. And some just don't want to go to the other side. They don't want to leave the earthly plane. Mm-hmm. They're like got their heels in and going, I'm not leaving. I told you I don't want to die, and I'm not going anywhere. This is my house, and I'm not leaving.
I love my big screen TV. I'm not leaving it, no matter what you tell me to do.
Now, Armand, let me ask you this. Is this due to the fact that, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to step on you, Joe.
Nah, it's all good, man.
It seems like, obviously, if in the pre-existence, as I would refer to it, that obviously you basically have to have blinders on, because anybody that would get to the age of knowing that would go, well, I'm ready to check out, I'm out of here, and everybody would be just massive jumping off bridges and stuff. But it would seem that that there seems to be almost like a I don't want to say a screen memory, but it's just a thing of going, this is all there is. Fearful of death, stay in here as long as you can. Is that more of a safeguard to make sure that you're here most likely to learn what you got to learn and to experience what is necessary for you to be able to, I'm fumbling for the word, I'm trying to search for it, to be able to actually coexist and contribute on a next level. It would seem that, because I know there's higher levels, which a lot of times were like negative entities would be, and then there would be higher levels where more like spiritual, higher spiritual beings, like Christ-like beings, for lack of a better word, or Buddha would be. Is that something that was there for a reason, or is that just something in our human brains that makes it so fearful of death?
I think it's the unknown to some people. Mm-hmm. It's that unknown of what will happen. You know, what is God? Is there a God? Is there just darkness? I don't believe in God. I'm just going to stay here. The other piece of it is that, and I was thinking this as you were talking too, that this can also continue to be a classroom of learning and growing for a person that stays behind, because they're viewing people's lives as they're in a home or in a business, watching, you know, how people are interacting. Mm-hmm. I don't think it really makes solid contact with the battery cable, you know, with the terminal. I mean, it's not like, you know, the learning that you would do if you were, say, in heaven, in the divine plane. But you know, it still is learning in and of itself. But there are people, and we know them in our lives, that are very stubborn and very, very just steadfast. And this is what I'm going to do. That I think sometimes can stay stuck. And the notion that, you know, this earthly plane, if people are left behind, is kind of this gradient level of spiritual growth, remaining on the planet and eventually evolving until they're able to transition over. Some people believe that. I am more along the lines of it's really a fear, a stubbornness, and a feeling of stuck remaining here, because the other side offers so much more growth and development that just trumps them remaining here. Mm-hmm. I think.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is, for some reason, this has popped in my head. You know, like, I've heard different cultures, different people have different beliefs of death. Some people say, you know, boom, you automatically ascend, or boom, you stay with the body until Judgment Day. And then I've heard a lot of people say, well, especially right after physical death, the body lingers, you know, which I could, in a human mindset, it would be one of those things of kind of wondering, well, I wonder who's going to be crying at my funeral. I wonder, you know, what's going to happen, and then who's
showing up?
My family. Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's the biggest me moment in the world, you know, most likely. And is that something that's necessary for them to have closure?
Yep.
Or is that more of a personal, I don't want to say trip, and in regards to their sort of id, if you want to call that. But it just would seem that I know, and I'm sure Joe has as well, that obviously when life ends, and as we know it, maybe not immediately, but within an hour, 2 hours, maybe sometimes longer, in the immediacy of the body, the energy changes. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's something that maybe is different for different people depending on how spiritually evolved they are, or why is that?
I think that there is a necessity for that processing. I think, you know, when a person passes, that transition from the bodily existence in the physicality, in the physical sense rather, and that transition to the energy or spirit dimension, or that feeling or that sense, that once that transition happens, there's an experience that happens with that. There's then an experience to have that level of closure that soul needs to experience and see, not only the transition but the closure of a world that they've been in for years to decades to, whatever that added up for them, that they need to see that. And as they're there at their funeral or at the kind of the closing of their earthly life, they're able to not only see, but to feel, to understand, to get every bit of what each of the people coming to their funeral feel, think, or are saying in their mind. They get to feel that emotion. Right. This is part of their process and how they can sum up where they've been and what they left behind, and feeling that, I mean, it's not even about ego. It's more about, and not even so much the id, but, or the superego, we'll include all three of them. But it's more along the lines of them needing to have that, what the process of their life brought them to, or what people are feeling about them. As they, I almost wanted to say ascend to heaven, but there's no ascension really. It's really just a transitional point. Mm-hmm. All of that information, along with their banked memory of everything that went on in their life, this tends to be a process that the other side uses in order to look at, not you're in trouble now. It's not so much that. It's that information is used to re-steer their rudder as to what they need to learn next. What's their laundry list now that, you have this lifetime? What needs to now come into play? What else does your soul need to grow about?
How often you called into a place, to clear a home or whatever, and you get there and the person that you're clearing goes, wait a minute, I didn't even realize I was dead. How often do you have to break that news to people?
I got to tell you, I'd say that it's about 90% of the time, 95% of the time. It's like Groundhog Day for each and every one of those energies.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll go into a home and I start usually from the basement and I go on up. And I begin to locate where those energies are. And I get to feel like what happened to them, how old they are, what happened to them, their gender, what they're about, what their Groundhog Day has been about, like what that is. And it tends to be, as weird as this is going to sound, like a counseling session almost between me and that energy to help them to redirect where they are and why they're there. A lot of it is that lost feeling. I'd say about 5 to 10% of it, 5% or so, is I told you, I'm not going to the other side.
Yeah.
I just don't want to go.
I'm going to kick, I'm going to scream, I'm going to go crazy because you're not making me go.
Yeah, I'm okay here. But it's only about 5% of that. The other ones are more of this Groundhog Day that they just need to hear where they are and what's going on.
Sure.
And right after I leave the home, I usually get a lot of texts or emails. The house feels lighter. We're not seeing the ghost-like figure anymore. I don't see them looking at me from behind me in the mirror, and all of the things that were precipitating me coming to their home or business, they're not feeling anymore. And it just brings in the light for me to come in. Mm-hmm. It brings in clarity and understanding, and that's really what it's about. It's not a scary time. It's actually a time.
Well, what do you do when you go into a place and there's I don't know if there's a such thing or not, maybe you can enlighten us, but for a lack of better term, a demon hanging around. How do you get them to go?
That happened to me one time, and it has not ever happened to me since. It was one time, I happened to be in recovery. I've been in recovery for coming up to 27 years now.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah. And I was first going to the meetings and setting up. Long story short, I walked into the newer part of the church, and it felt like I was being crushed from all sides. Literally like a can getting crushed from all angles. But as soon as I walked into the church part of the building where the meeting was actually held in the basement area, it was like I popped into, like I was okay. As soon as I went into the extension building, I was getting crushed again. I actually gave it a middle finger in a sense in those days. This was probably 26 years ago, because this is when I was new into recovery. Mm-hmm. And I made myself go through the building, up to the second floor, down the hall, and back down the stairs again. Just feeling that crushed feeling, going, in no uncertain language, I ain't scared of you. and this is what I'm going to do. Nothing ever happened to me physically or anything like that, but I can feel myself being looked at out the window when I would approach the building or when I would exit it.
I mean, because it just seems like possession is such a buzzword out there. You know what I mean? Because it's TV shows about this, that. Is that a real thing? I mean, have you ever encountered someone that's possessed?
I'm going to tell you, yes, in a way. Here's what it is. When a person, each one of us has the right to say no. Each one of us has the right to say yes. We tend to bring on this, possession might be too big of a word, but we tend to bring on allowing ourselves to be played with, or allowing ourselves to be consumed, or allowing ourselves to be toyed with, because like often I come to a household where a daughter or son is speaking to energies that are in the house. The parents are saying, we don't want that here, but the child is saying, but they're my friends, but I play with them. And so there you have it. Are they possessed, the child or even the young adult? It's not that they're possessed, but they're choosing to have that engagement with that energy and to allow that energy to become their friends, or to allow that, and that happens so often, by the way, and to allow themselves to engage with that. And whereas the parents have that stop hand out, but yet they're beckoning because they think it's neat or interesting, or they might be a little nervous about it, but we're okay with them being here. And so that allows that possession, which I think is too big of a word, but that allows that occupation, I like that better, of the house and that child's world or young adult's world being occupied. Because we allow it to be so, and we allow that to enter the picture.
Let me ask you, you know that a lot of times in popular media, a lot of times you have a child that maybe has, a certain level of connectivity spiritually, or maybe is a little bit more open, or maybe has a little bit stronger, I'm losing a term for it, more or less the eye for this type of thing to be able to pick up on it. Do you find that that is actually a thing, to whereas a person that is a younger person maybe comes into it with less guard, or is it a thing that they're more open to whatever, and then that's why these things tend to want to latch on to them? And also, as you talked about this reality or this dimension or this, psychic plane, however you want to term it, do you feel that there actually are separations in all these different vibrations, or is it basically like you're sandwiched up together, you just have to have the right key to step into one or to the other?
So that's a great question. So let me explain it by starting out with a running start with this, that when I always say this to people, that I'm at the 103 on an FM dial. And if on the earthly plane, people are at 101 and heaven, let's say, is at 105, I move from 101 to 103 when I read. And I grab from the 105 and hand to the 101. And after the reading, I go back down to the 101 where everyone else is. Gotcha. Now, I think when we are born, we are nearly at that 105. We're just coming from that that dimension, that frequency, if you will, that resonates on that 105 level. And I think when you see children that have these abilities and they're open to it, some families are cool with it, let's say, and they don't try to recoat them with the way we think in society. Oh, that's crazy, or you're just hearing things, or oh, you have an imaginary playmate. Oh yeah, that's just imaginary, it'll go away. And layering over top of that, that's impossible, that's not real. For kids that allow that to happen, they actually go from that 105, 104, 103, 102, when they go right down. For those that have that awareness that is stronger, they cultivate it, or they don't speak about it as much, so it isn't dampened down for them, and they learn how to practice it a little bit and be able to kind of tune into the other side. I think those are the ones that are at 102. Okay. And maybe 101, but 102, maybe 103. because they're able to accept in that frequency.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I mean, it makes total sense because they're so young. Mm-hmm. They don't have any preconceived notions of what is and what isn't yet.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? So they can jump all over that dial and not think of anything's amiss. Mm-hmm. To where we're adults and we're going, oh, wait a minute here, that's not supposed, or the other way, it's so cool Sally's talking to that imaginary friend, oh my gosh, look how cute that is. In reality, it could be something totally horrible too. So, we got to run to break. Hold that question there, Mr. Asher. We got to run to break, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More Armand Egidi. We come back. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Are you hungry? Hungry as a gremlin? Here's gremlin cereal.
Gremlins, gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlins is a deliciously sweet, crunchy cereal that satisfies the hungry little gremlin that's in all of us.
Gremlins, gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlin cereal is part of this complete breakfast.
Gremlin, yum yum.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
What's happening, hot stuff?
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
little co-host Stevie Asher.
A little itty-bitty co-host Steven Asher. Just wee tot over there. And tonight we are speaking with medium Armand Egidi tonight. And he has a cool new website in addition to mediumarmand.com. But you can also go to the super cool, The Knowing. Is actually the knowing.online. I want to make sure you get the dot in there. I almost forgot to say dot because it's very important. The knowing.online. That's his great new website because he's a great new center out there. A physical center, a building, and you can go and learn from one of the best. And that is Mr. Armand over there. He kicks butt, takes names. He is the legit real deal, folks. I've had hundreds of readings over the years on air and off air, and my God, every time, Armand, you just nail me. All right, man, I give. You are really know your stuff. And again, I want to tell everyone that if you want to schedule a reading and have that same feeling I do from my own reading, you can schedule that right there on both websites. And you know what? It would definitely be worth your time. Now, I got to ask, okay, we have a lot of bad people, as we all know, in this world. Criminals, bank robbers, this or that. Do we have to pay for those crimes, Armand, on the other side, or are we absolved when we show up there?
Oh, my God, no. Well, yes and no. I will tell you, let's say that there's somebody that is alcoholic, and they're driving their car, and they kill two people, one person, whatever, in the vehicular manslaughter, or they kill two people. They're responsible for those people's deaths. Now, some people might say, well, they were drinking, but they made a choice to drink. They made a choice to do what they did. Now let's bring into the picture somebody who maybe, God forbid, they're schizophrenic, and they're not in their right mind. They don't really have that level of choice and decision. Mm-hmm. I think there are things like that, when people are compromised in that way beyond their own choice and decision, that a level of forgiveness is given to them. But yes, we are responsible, as I always call it, for the emotional spilled milk that we create for people. When a person passes, and if they've been physically abusive, emotionally abusive, just very negative to people in their world, they're responsible from that, or that they kill themselves. Mm-hmm. They're responsible for that ripple effect. Every single ring that they created for each person, they're responsible, because in some regards, they may have thrown that person's path, that roadmap from here to LA, if you will.
Sure.
And they have them take an exit. It's a forced exit. And they're responsible to get them back on that highway and get them back going. Mm-hmm. And that's what they facilitate on the other side, is the cleanup work.
Okay.
And it's not about a punishment. It's about needing to clean up what they did.
Now, is there a heaven and a hell? I mean, really, or is that just all stuff we made here?
It depends. There are people certainly that believe that there is a heaven and that there is a hell, and I'm respectful of everyone's belief and what they believe to be right and true. I can speak for myself that I think that there is another frequency, another mm-hmm. existence beyond this earthly plane that I'll call heaven, for a lack of better words.
Sure.
For me, when people enter onto the other side, if they've done things that are not particularly right or good, they may not enter in on the same level as somebody else would. So it's kind of like you're entering in, if you can think of a row of rooms. They're entering in on the one on the right. They have to grow from first grade to be able to be in second, to be able to be in third. Coming in, they're maybe in 8th or 9th grade, and they enter at that level of development.
Okay. It's like a learning process. You got to go through your classes to get even further through the schooling until you graduate one day.
Yeah. Well, graduate, I would say, always in the process of learning, ing, always in the process of developing. And I'm not sure if we ever get an ED at the end, because I think we're always developing that higher learning and understanding of our existence.
Okay, Armand, here's the deal. As we talked about learning, we talked about this, is there any fun on the other side?
Absolutely.
I mean, or is it all just sitting around doing book work, or do we actually get to have a little fun?
No, I think it's all about, it's not just solely, just like on this earthly plane here, that we're not just here to go through school and to always learn, that we have our recreation, our travel, our fun times. Absolutely.
Okay, so I was thinking, I was imagining just a room that we're all stuck in for the rest of our night. At the end of time, like, oh, great, I was never that great in high school.
Yeah.
Gee, Armand, thank you. Now I'm really screwed. No,
like an
but
eternal, like DMZ or something. You're sitting there
exactly.
like in Beetlejuice with that big long number, and you're waiting. Yeah, no good at all.
Yeah, that would not be a good. Not for this guy, anyway. Not for this guy.
It's funny that you say that, because yesterday I was reading this lady, and the long and short of it is that her father had passed and her mom had passed. And unfortunately, she disclosed to me that she had stage 4 cancer, and she's had for quite a bit of time. And she wanted to know if she was going to pass or what was going to happen. And I believe, and I usually don't remember readings and particular pieces of it, but this jogged something of a memory that the father was rolling his eyes about, I'm stuck here. You want to stay out of here as long as you can because I'm stuck here with your mom. And just laughing about it. This being like a funny, him trying to get her to laugh. Like, don't come here soon,
Sure, so the ones that we are with on Earth, as in marriages and loves, do we find them on the other side, or is that a choice?
That's again, yes, and it is also a choice.
Okay.
There are some people that have been abused in this lifetime, and they don't want to ever lay eyes, energy, whatever you want to call it, on those energies that have hurt them. So there's a choice there as to whether a person wants to engage with another energy.
The reason why I ask is because my wife and I are about as close as they come. I'm sure you read that on me. We're about as close as two people can be. And I couldn't imagine not seeing her again.
Oh, you will. Everyone has because you want to, and everyone has that opportunity to always be with that person. There are energies like you and your wife that may decide to stay with each other, and if you believe in other lifetimes, choose to go into other lifetimes together. So that's at your disposal of both of you as to how much you want to be with each other.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that because, this is some years ago, I did an interview with a really pretty well-renowned, a past life regressionist, and she says to me, you've been stuck with your wife for like 4 or 5 lifetimes. I said, what? She said, oh yeah, you guys been together you just intermingle here and there. You guys always find each other. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what she had said.
Well, in my eyes, it tends to be true because people have that ability to select whether you want to continue to be with a person. And sometimes souls can be old souls together and can be those soul mates that say, you know what, we resonate enough together and we give each other our learning space that I want to do this over and over again with you.
Yeah, again, that was another question I had quick. I know Steve's got a couple others himself, but what is it with old souls? What does that mean when someone says an old soul opposed to a new soul?
Remember the spiral that I told you about, how it spirals in toward the center?
Sure.
I think of an old soul as somebody that has spiraled in a little bit further than most. There's this understanding, this learned, that they've been here before or that they know, because it's almost like the experience. It's like something, a new auto mechanic versus somebody who is seasoned. And you can just tell by the way they're talking and how they're handling themselves and what they're working on that they're old at this. Like they know their stuff.
They've been around. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. I totally get that. Totally do. And I think, like you said, it's just been around. They know the ropes. They've been here, done that, and the new souls, I would suppose, try to learn from the old souls.
Yeah, very much. They try to, and you can see that, and all the listeners can think in their minds for a moment. They have relatives or friends or people that just keep on tripping up and not getting it right. And their parents or loved ones might show them a right way, and then they start tripping up again and not getting it right. Sometimes that can be looked upon as a newer soul that needs to learn the ropes of this world and not to succumb to the disease of more and always being about the more or the stubbornness and that they need to grow. That can be looked upon as a newer soul as well.
Interesting. Man, very, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. And, of course, they can go, as always, to Medium Armand, Armand, at .com, or even better, maybe I shouldn't say even better, but cooler right at the moment, go to the knowing.online. I'm liking this website, man. Very good work on this website. Whoever made it really knew what they were doing, man.
I made it.
You did. Wow, beautiful work. I want everyone to go over to the knowing.online. Check that out. You're going to learn everything. There really is a lot of good lessons there as well. Education section, you'll want to click on that. And you can also get in on some classes that you can learn directly from Armand.
I want to point out, too, if people are more Facebook people, they can go to The Knowing on Facebook and look me up that way. I think it's at The Knowing Center, I think it is, on Facebook, or Medium Armand. But The Knowing on Facebook, they can book right there, too, and they can like the page and see what's going on there. And there's also the list of the upcoming classes are on there, as well as the website.
Very, very cool. Got a quick question for you, and it's going to be kind of sound like a stupid question. Well, then again, there is no stupid questions, just stupid people. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke, of course. Old radio joke. Okay, I noticed there's a new generation of people out there, I'd say in their early 30s, that seem to be extremely lost spiritually. And they call them millennials, of course. But they seem to be tenfold more lost than the rest of us in their spirituality, to the point to where, there's almost a selfishness there where they're trying to fill it, whether it's with, not wanting to do anything, want everything given to them. Is that a spiritual thing, or is that a cultural thing?
It's a lot of that. Again, we're born into the world as clean slates. And then what we have to look at is what has affected that person to have that sense of lostness,
Gotcha.
Not having that spirituality. So, and I don't want to blame all of this on video games and all that, but I think that in life we have a lot of pleasures at our disposal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at I'd say any group of people, if they are too much into the pleasure areas and doing that and going out and they tend to lose that sense of their direction. If there is a higher power, if there's not a higher power. Also, the media has changed over the years as well.
Because it just seems like the further we're going generationally now, it seems the further we're getting away from our spirituality. Mm-hmm. I'm noticing a quick decline. Even I have siblings that are part of the millennial generation. And in my opinion, their generation seems much further away from spirituality than my generation. And that's kind of a scary thing. It really is. It's almost like they're turning a blind eye to it.
In one way, I think that you're right. I've seen some of that, the turning the heads away. But what's also coming into view here is the amount of people that are going toward meditation groups, people that are going toward yoga, people that are going toward understanding more and more of themselves.
Okay.
So I think sometimes it depends on even sometimes the geographic location. As I've traveled throughout the country and the world, I notice pockets of areas that are enlightened and other pockets of areas where they just stay kind of within their own selves. Sure. I would say it differs depending on where you go.
Because it used to seem like when I was a kid, everybody went to church. I mean, that was just, my mom dragged you to church, Nobody I know that's a younger generation, I don't want to paint, I'm using really broad brush here, so I don't want to paint everybody with that same brush. But the ones that I have come encounter with, they don't, for instance, even go to church anymore. Those things that are spiritual are an afterthought. That doesn't really matter to us anymore. The here and now is what matters.
Yeah, and I think because a lot of what we're presented with technology, what we're presented with in the media, everywhere we are, is all of this distraction of here and now.
Gotcha.
Everyone's on their cell phone. Yeah. Everyone's communicating, going back and forth, and they're, me included, and it tends to draw people away. No longer is there Davy and Goliath on at 7 a.m. in the morning, and where you would watch that. I don't know if you had that when you were younger.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. That was good stuff right there.
It was.
Good old Davy. Oh, we got hosed, Davy.
But Davy, the sign says danger.
No, I mean, go.
Can I ask you one thing?
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, it was just something I was listening to what you guys were saying on this, but I'm kind of trying to be a glass half full guy, because a lot of times it seems like the younger generation, which I'm ancient, but I know it sounds
Yes,
bad.
you are ancient. Yes, you're a million. You're 1.5 million.
I am.
You look great for that, though.
I work out.
I know you
But
do.
what I was going to say was, okay, let's say this isn't a bad thing. Okay, let me explain why.
Sure.
Let's say these people have stepped away from a lot of the religious structures, the dogmatic aspect of the spirit, and they can come back to it a little bit more of a clean slate without a lot of the baggage that most of us have from growing up in a lot of churches and stuff. Especially I was raised around Southern Baptist churches and stuff, and that's great and all, but it can be pretty fire and brimstone-y, and it's more of fear to God than it is love God sometimes, it seems. And it seems, could this not be a positive thing, just like where a wave comes out then the wave comes back in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's it being waves of belief and feelings and how people are looking at their higher energy and what that's about for them. As much as that's the case, there are so many people that say that the veil is getting thinner, and what they mean by that is that curtain that divides, for those who don't know who are listening, the veil that divides our earthly plane and the higher level frequency, heaven, whatever you want people call that, and it's getting thinner because more and more of that understanding of what the other side is starting to come through. We see it in movies. We see it in the fact that people are getting a little bit closer. Some people, I don't know their age brackets per se, I think it's across the board, getting a little bit closer to their own sense of spirituality and who they are and what they practice.
Yeah, I do believe the veil is thinning. I think you're right, and media has something to do with that. All the paranormal shows, and people are now, everyone, their grandma, it seemed like for a long time, had a paranormal group. Everybody, and so they were all kind of looking for that. And that really seemed to me happen in a big way after 9/11. 9/11 seemed to be that turning point, if you will, in the spiritual revolution, at least in this country.
Mm-hmm. It made the world stop for a moment and really just take stock of themselves. It was I don't want to say a slap in the face, but like this moment of shock. Mm-hmm. That had everyone take a really close look and take inventory of their own selves, their belief, and that that we're not invincible. That there are things like this that can happen in the world.
But you are from that area.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a proud New Yorker, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're there. I mean, you're in that area during 9/11. That must have been such a world-changing event in that city compared to the rest of the world that saw it on TV, but you were there living it. What was the spiritual shift like at that moment when that happened?
The world stopped. I'll tell you, yes, because I'm a native New Yorker. I was born in New York. And those Twin Towers, you could see anywhere in the city. It was always the way I got my bearings when I came out of the subway to go where I needed to go. And I was at the Statue of Liberty the day before that happened. I was there. I actually took a picture of the Twin Towers with one of our friends visiting from Canada that was standing there, and I had the Twin Towers behind it. I got a phone call from my brother, and he said, "Do you know what's happening?" And I'm like, "I don't know what you're on 9/11." And I tuned into the news, and everything stopped. Those buildings were bigger than you could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. They were, I don't know if you've ever been there, but they were enormous, those buildings. Mm. So, it just, everything stopped. The whole world stopped on the East Coast here. They found paperwork in Brooklyn and on Staten
Wow.
Island,
My Lord.
and it just, I mean, to find it's unbelievable.
Now, in a way, you having the ability that you do, not knowing that attack was going to happen, that's a gift. Could you imagine knowing that it was going to happen? Having that ability to see that attack was going to happen, being a psychic medium? Is there certain things that spirit shields you from, I guess, is the quick question before we only got a few minutes here, but is there certain things that you are shielded from, knowing?
There are. I'll tell you, there are. There was somebody recently that came to me that they're not sure if there was attempted murder done or if it was a suicide, and when things like that happen, it's almost like the lights go off. It's like there are sometimes things that I'm not meant to know, and that it just goes off, and I can't pull it in. I can't get it. They're not giving it to me. It's less about my efforts and more about, it's kind of like talking to somebody on the phone, and when you ask a question, if they don't answer you back, then you can't give anything. Yeah. And it's less about any creation in my brain and more about what I'm getting from the other side.
I was going to say, because there has to be some type of safeties in place for you, because, my gosh, you would just have absolute overload.
It would. There was a girl that came up to me tonight. I grabbed something to eat before coming to the spot that I'm in now. And she's like, "Can you read me? Can you read me?" And I was very respectful of her, and she's a good person, but I'm off. Most of the time in public, I am just off. And when somebody starts talking to me about it, and that's when the arousal comes on, where I can then start to move into that and start to get what I need to get in order to give it to them. But 99.99% of the time, I am off. I'm not on.
And that's a blessing.
It is.
Could you imagine, like I see those shows where there's big blonde-haired lady running around the streets going, oh, your uncle's telling me, he loves you, your uncle, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine if that is indeed legit.
I wouldn't want to do that to somebody because I don't know what mindset that person is in. Yeah. Because all I would have to do, like Steve, in just looking at you during the break, I started to bring things through for you. All I have to do, because your picture is up on the screen, on the Skype screen, is just look at you. And as I stare at you, or even you, Joel, I begin to it starts coming, but I have to stare into your eyes. And that's when I can see what I was talking about over break coming in behind you. And it's just because I look, I stare, and I shift on. It's like turning up the volume on it and going, okay, I'm going to listen now and receive for you.
Barry, that is so cool. I mean, that is just the way it should work. It should be a personal connection. It shouldn't just be someone coming up to you on the street going, "Oh, Grandpa loves you." You know what I mean? That whole thing.
Do you feel it as in regards of your ability, initially, was it more of became like a Pavlovian response to where, like you said, you lock eyes with somebody? Do you find yourself purposely not making eye contact with people?
It's so funny you say that, because a friend of mine last year visiting a fellow medium from Australia that I know said, Armand, you look right through people when you're looking at them. You really stare and look. And I'm like, I never really noticed that before, but I do. So I think sometimes I start to read somebody and then I just look away, because if I stare long enough, it will come. It starts happening. The other thing that I do that wards off a reading or reading somebody is that I use humor. Even when I'm reading a group of 30 people, 20 people in a room, what I'll do to back out of their energy field, and not hurtfully so, but will use humor that will back me out, and it kind of changes the thinking, so then I can come out and then go in the next. person. Because and I think that's why in my lifetime, from a very early age to now, that's why I love humor and I love laughter, and I think that's a way that it pulls me away. And maybe that's what the alcoholism and drug addiction that I went through for all those years. Maybe that's what partly it was about.
Well, I believe that there's a lesson in everything for everybody, and I think you're hitting the nail right on the head right there. And you are blessed, that we're blessed to have you. I love the phrase in your website, where there is darkness, I bring light. Where there is misunderstanding, I bring clarity. Everyone, I want you to go to mediumarmand.com, or better yet, or I shouldn't say better yet, the knowing.online. Check out both those great websites. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
And on behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, and Mr. Stephen Asher, we'd like to thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. Take care of each other, love each other, and more importantly, understand each other.
Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.